first off, a bit of background information on our host. Wendy has been dealing with power and relationships throughout her entire career, from starting out in VIP management and business development at a major film festival to leading an innovative nonprofit through hockey puck growth and working with some of the biggest investors, philanthropists, and founders on making the world better. Wendy has an extensive background in dealing with power and money, and she even managed to get a teaching fellowship at the Kennedy School's executive education program on this very topic. And she's so excited to teach this particular office hours because her life's mission is to empower fierce females, and power is money. So thank you so much, Wendy, for taking the time to host this call today. We know how valuable your time is, and we can't wait to learn from you today.
Thank you, Hannah. It's so funny. Getting the bio read back to me. I'm like, oh, okay, that's me. Hello. And I just want to say and echo really what Hannah said, which is thank you. You know, power and money are renewable resources. There are things that we can give ourselves, but time is not. Time is the thing that passes. And so I just want to say thank you. Thank you for giving me your time. Thank you for attending. And I come from the interactive learning background. So this is going to be an hour where we're all going to be teachers and we're all going to be students. You know, I'm the one that's facilitating, but I definitely don't have all the answers. A lot of this is going to be you reflecting on your own experience. And over the next hour, we're going to talk about our personal relationship to money. We're going to talk about what is power, what are power dynamics and how to behave in these types of situations. How do we equalize them? And I just want to set a couple ground rules. First off, does everyone have a pen and paper? Okay, cool. Oh my God, what a pen. Yes, it's like a pom-pom. That is amazing. I wish I had my rose pen that I could show. It's literally like one of those plastic roses. Yeah, so everyone needs a pen and paper because we will be doing some some self-reflective work. And turn off your phones. You know, it's very rare that we give ourselves the time and attention to talk about our own power and money and give that to yourself. I want to say that this is a classroom, so it will be interactive. We will be using that chat. So I'm going to be like, you'll be chatting away. And I know there's the reactions tab. There's like reactions in each of your windows. And so we're going to be using that. Yes, exactly. Because I'll be asking for you to give me a thumbs up on certain things, just so I can really understand. Oh, that's perfect. Where you are with the content. I love that. Jennifer, you are just like ready to go. Okay. And I want to say that this is going to be a safe space. I can't say it's going to be a confidential space because, as you can tell by the upper left-hand corner of the screen, this is being recorded. But this is a space of kindness and compassion. And when I say a kindness and compassion, not just for each other, but most importantly for ourselves, we are going to be talking about things that can be very emotionally triggering. They might bring up some trauma. I know that money's been my teacher and has been the source of things that has led to a great deal of pain and therefore a great deal of purpose, and which is why I'm here. So please show yourself compassion. So with that, does everyone feel good about that? So use those reactions and say with like the thumbs up, are we feeling cool about that? Yes. Oh my God. Emojis are so fun. Yes. Okay. Yes. Deepa. Okay, perfect. So I feel good there. Now I really want to take a poll on where everyone is with this content. And so you're going to get to know your reactions on your screen very well. So give me a reaction if you're raising money right now for a for-profit business. Okay, you can raise your hand. Okay, great. So you are Kristen, Deepa. Okay, great. You're raising your hand. You can physically raise your hand. You can give me a clap, whatever you want. Okay, and Hannah is raising money for a for-profit business. Brilliant. Okay, so give me a reaction, raise your hand. if you're in a fundraising role in nonprofits or in politics? No one. Okay, great. So we are in the for-profit business. Is anyone in corporate sponsorship? So you're dealing with companies, getting money from groups in that way? No. So everyone is raising money for a for-profit business. And I just want to know if you're joined today for a personal reason. This is something that you really want to work on personally. Okay, so Mira, I saw that. Hannah, yes. Okay, and then, yes, is it Jonna? Did I say that correctly? Jonna?
Yana, sorry.
Yana, thank you. Our names are so important. Thank you, Yana. And then lastly, just give me a reaction if you joined today for a professional reason. Okay, great, Jennifer. Okay. I mean, I imagine perfect. We joined today because it's about our careers, right? Like when it comes down to money, it tends to get people to show up. And so I'm gonna start by sharing. And I'm gonna share my story, not for the purpose of trying to prove out expertise in any way. I'm gonna be sharing my story with the intention that you'll be able to see a piece of your own story in what I have to share. I'm going to be sort of guiding the thought process along and how I reflected and got a better understanding of how I thought about money, how it was holding me back, and how I eventually got empowered. So with that, let me just share my screen. Oh, I have to, can I be the host, Hannah? Okay. All right, we have to just love Zooms right now. Okay, I am the co-host. Okay. All right, so, okay, so this is, can everyone see that? I'm saying that I'm going to be sharing. Yes, okay. All right, perfect. So this is me and my dad. We can assume this is around 1987, and my story with money really begins with him. And I have to say that I have a great relationship with my dad today. I love him dearly. I am actually with my parents during quarantine. I could not be more grateful. But as a child, my dad would get very upset about money. And I grew up upper middle class, so I need to say I had privilege, a great amount of privilege. And even though I grew up with privilege, my dad had a very clear poverty mentality. And so every time, and money got in the way of my dad showing up as a father in the way that I wanted. So he wouldn't show up for dinner with us. He wouldn't show up on vacation with us. He would make excuses because money was always an issue. And it was also the thing that got me in trouble. So I have a very specific memory of being 7 years old at night in my parents' bedroom, and I'm watching TV. And I just remember my dad being really tall. And so right now I'm actually taller than my dad, but at the time I was 7 and he was just so tall to me. And I just said, Dad, I really want to go to summer camp. And I just remember a flip so clearly. And he got enraged. And he said, if you go to summer camp, we're going to end up homeless and you're going to be living in a cardboard box. And to a 7-year-old, I was mortified and I just started bawling. And I literally thought that I was going to cause my family to be homeless and that I was unsafe. And all I wanted as a child, all children want, is to feel safe. And so how I ended up reacting towards that was I got rebellious. And actually I ended up spending a lot of money as a pattern in my life because I wanted to in some ways get back at my dad. And the ironic thing, oh no. Okay, well this is, right now it's not loading, that's weird. But it's a picture of, we can imagine it's a picture of a camp. So, here, I don't know why it's not loading. Okay, so camp, this is actually Camp Vega for girls. And I went to a summer camp that's in Maine. So just imagine pine trees. Imagine pine trees, imagine an entrance for camp. And when we're talking about growing up in privilege, I went to a summer camp where I was around ultra privilege. And much of money is about comparison. And so my friends, they would, they had homes in the Hamptons, they had ponies. And I literally remember thinking I was poor because I didn't have a pony, which is absurd. But I also wanted to belong. And this deep sense of belonging made me admire people with money. And it made me want to, it made me put them on a pedestal. So here I was having this really interesting tension of being rebellious and angry, and also really valuing it. And the ironic thing is that I ended up in fundraising. So this is at a gala in New York, quite fancy. And the thing about fundraising and the psychology of it. So here I was wrapped up having conflicting relationship to money. And what it came down to was I didn't feel worthy. I didn't think, I tied my worthiness and money, and they were intertwined. And the thing about fundraising and any sort of fundraising is that the question you ask is, what is that person worth? So here I was thinking about, trying to heal worthiness. And I was in a business of judging people externally based on how much they were worth. So what I actually ended up doing was I judged other people based on the thing that I actually needed for myself, without actually dealing with my own self-worth. And therefore, every single success and failure became about me and my own identity. Because money gave me worth, and when it didn't go well, I felt worthless. And this is a picture of me. As Hannah mentioned, I had a fellowship at Harvard, but this was about 6-7 years ago. And I share this, yes, this is where the content started. What are power dynamics? What are partnerships? How do we really shift relationships when money is at the center? But I also use this because I was teaching this stuff, but I really didn't inhabit any of the content. It took me years to really internalize it and get it. And honestly, I didn't really get it until I dealt with my own worth, because that is what money gave me. And in this time between today and that course, ironically enough, there were times when I was actually homeless and went into debt, and I didn't have a place to stay, and our demons do follow us. And I had to find my own worth, come into terms with that, and then that's when I became empowered in money. And so I want to first talk about the psychology of money, because this is when we were talking about there were some requests around the financial freedom mindset. So I'm going to bring this back to you, and I hope you have that pen and paper. And I want you to think about and reflect, what are your earliest memories around money? So mine was very clearly being a 7-year-old and asking to go to summer camp and being devastated that I did something wrong. So I'm just going to give everyone about 2 minutes. And I would say when you're done, and please take your time, just give me that little reaction of like a thumbs up. But take your time. Okay, I know we're starting to get there. Okay, all right. It seems like we have some memories and money coming up. Awesome. Now it's time to think about, how have those memories impacted you? So for me, I got really rebellious around money and ended up spending a lot. That got me in trouble later on in life. It's also like there are memories that were really positive. I know a girlfriend of mine, she was 8 years old and she was sent to a bank and opened up a checking account, and it was like the greatest day of her life. So, you know, it's like, what are the habits that were created based on those memories? And then the follow-up question is, what does money give you? Does it give you security? Does it give you confidence? For me, it gave me worth. So what is that thing? What is the thing behind the thing that it gives you? So once again, take your time and just give me a little reaction when you're feeling complete in that. Okay, great. Yana. Perfect. Okay. Okay, great. Perfect. Okay, it seems like we're starting to wrap up, so I'm just gonna move on to the next, which is, does anyone want to share? And before we share, I just want to put a button on something, which is, whatever money gives you, the secret of financial freedom is you have to give it to yourself to give it to yourself first. So I had to give myself worth before I could actually be empowered in money, because money was just money and not anything connected to myself. It didn't say anything about me. So does anyone want to share? Does it, or like write in the chat? Yes. Okay. Yana does. Oh, unmute. Oh,
Unmute. Okay. Is it
great.
unmute?
Perfect.
Okay. I mean, I've worked through a lot, I would say, of my money issues through like NET therapy. So like, you know, childhood imprints and stuff like that. So I think at a young age, my father had the same type of lack of like that lack feeling, and not a feeling of abundance when I was a kid. My mother was always like, everything's going to be fine. Like, we'll figure anything out. And I was raised around a lot of kids that had trust funds because my parents always wanted me to have more than they did. So I went to a very prestigious school. And it wasn't until like I heard other kids saying things that I was like, huh, okay, well, maybe there is this disconnect of like where they are with money and where I am with money. So I had a lot of lack and I worked through that. So I feel like I'm in a place where I have a very great give and take relationship with money. I don't worry about money. Anytime I'm feeling stressed about money, I give money away in different ways, and then it comes back in other ways. But I feel like my struggle is I only ask for what I need. So like money gives me freedom and security. And so I feel like I'm in a good place, but I feel like if not guilt, but it's like, well, and I always try to talk to myself like, I want abundance, I want to have like, I want to make more, right? But I'm like, but I don't really need more. So it's that sense of, I think what I would say I'm struggling with now. That
Yeah, I have a couple questions to go deeper. So first off, just for the group, what were some of the things that you did? I know you said you mentioned you give money away when you're feeling that lack to kind of combat that. What are things that you've done to get over this initial imprinting you have around money that you can share with the group?
I mean, therapy, but then also, I would just say giving to receive, which was a little stressful, right? So like trying not to worry about money. So I like helped my sister financially. I never ever thought about it as an issue, or giving away money to a nonprofit or helping someone in need. And so that was really helpful for me. But I think it's just this piece of not wanting to like take more than I need. It's like this weird feeling. I don't know.
So then the question is, what are the other places in your life where that shows up? So the thing that's really interesting, or at least how I think about patterns in ourselves, is that we reveal ourselves everywhere.
Right.
And so
I mean, I've gotten good with like creating boundaries. Like I just in a lot of ways, I'm an empath. So I'm able to like help a lot of my friends just with any of their problems, but I've gotten very attuned to when I want to do that and when I don't. And so I would say that's another piece of, you know, I don't really ask for a lot of help. I don't really need a lot of help. I've gotten better. Like, I mean, now, I mean, I'm in recovering from having a startup. So, I'm consulting now. And so I'm able to help, founders with, you know, the emotional stuff along with like, I'm in finance. So I'm a consulting CFO, but.
Well, so it's interesting because you have all the factual, logistical, information around money. You know how money
Right.
works, which is actually a great thing because then money doesn't become an emotional response.
Right.
Because then it's like seeing your bank account, seeing what's in your checking account for your business becomes this hugely emotional response if you don't know how money works.
Right.
And so,
and I've been able to give other people, like my friend's dad was so overwhelmed with retirement. And so I have a way of being able to break down finance in a simple method. And so I just did this quick Excel spreadsheet and I was like, I'll just do this for free. And he was like, absolutely not. Like you need to. So I came up with like this family and friends rate that I just like made up. So he felt better about it. And he had told my friend, he was like, I can't believe how easy this was. Like she really showed me all these different options of me being okay with money. And so I do that for myself. Like, it's just, I don't know why I can't get into this space of abundance with money, but I'm in it in a lot of other ways. I don't know if it's safety. Like, I mean, I don't need more. Like, I don't need a bigger apartment. Like my apartment's cute. I don't know.
So, I mean, we're going to have to, this topic in particular is like, what is our relationship to money? Where does it come from? Could be a 10-day workshop. And we do have to like get into power dynamics and how to equalize relationships. Perfect. And the thing is, and it was just, I'm just going to point out, you said you gave a friends and family rate. You're just like, okay, maybe I'll let you pay me. There's a receiving. There's like, and asking for help. It's all related. Like, I'm going to allow people to give to me. I'm going to allow people to show up for me. And when I say that we reveal ourselves in so many different situations, this is the joy of learning about ourselves. And this is actually why healing is really optimistic, because when we work on something like our relationship to money in one respect of our lives, it will heal in all respects of our lives. So like my worthiness was healed personally and professionally, and in how I showed up for my family. And so we're going to have to move on, but I just want to drop a little seed that any of the work that you do is going to be the work that you will see everywhere. And that's what makes this all really interesting. And thank you so much, Yana. That was so courageous and so brave. And I'm going to have to mute you again, and then we're going to go back into the presentation. I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to go back to being interactive and and I want you to go into the chat. So I want people to go into the chat or and really write, what is money? I have to see if I can see the chat. Hannah, would you be able to read what's in the chat for me?
Yes. So Mira says money is an exchange of energy and value. Nina says money is freedom. Jennifer says money is flexibility. Deepa also says money is freedom, and Yana, freedom as well. Hannah says control and independence. Yana also says security.
Oh my God, I love that. People have great relationship to money here. What's really interesting, no one said money is bad or evil. Because there is also that reaction, if someone has been slighted in life around money and it not being there, they can have this really negative relationship to it. So I just have to acknowledge what everyone brings to the table here, which is this understanding of freedom. And it makes sense. Dreamers and doers, right? These are your women that really get shit done, and you're really valuing freedom. And so one of the things that's interesting about money is that it is relatively useless as an entity, as a thing. So for example, if we were stranded on a deserted island and all we had was $1 million in cash, that money couldn't feed us, it couldn't help us hunt, and it couldn't keep us warm. We would most likely, or what I would suggest, I can only speak for myself, is I would probably use that in a fire and be like, let's burn it because it can keep us warm. So the money in itself doesn't matter. It's what we attach to it. And one of the things that money represents is power. And so now, Hannah, I'm going to need you again. We're going to be putting in what is power. So write in the chat, like, what is power to you?
Jennifer says it's the ability to say no.
Ooh, I love that.
To make choices.
Yes. Okay. So those two things of saying no and having choices are going to be something that we directly talk about. Because people that have, was there more, Hannah?
Yeah, there's a few more coming in. So Kristen says, it's the ability to know that my opinion is heard, even if the decision is not one I agree with. Mira says, the ability to influence a decision. Nina says, to create impact. And Hannah says, the power to do what I want to do and help my loved ones.
Oh, I love that. So Mira saying influence the decision, we're going to speak to that directly and the power dynamics of it. So I love that. So I'm going to just read a couple of definitions around power. So there's the Merriam-Webster version, which is the ability to act or produce an effect. So get something done. In physics, in the science of it, which is typically used in energy or engines, it is a measure of the rate at which work is done, or similarly at which energy is transferred. So how quickly something is done, or how, and then my definition, and for all these fabulous women warriors on this call, this one's for you, it's how much you can influence another individual. And so when Mira mentioned influence, the reason I use that word is because influence isn't about money, it's about respect. When we have influence over people, we have influence when there's mutual respect. And that is totally separate from money. And so we're in the game of being respectful and respected. And a power dynamic is created when we allow traditional influence to run the relationship. So this is my definition for a power dynamic. And when I say we allow, it's because we let it happen. It's something that we're okay with, or maybe we're not okay with, but we don't speak up about it. And traditional influence, quote unquote, traditional, is really about hierarchy. This is about, the power dynamics are position oriented. And when I say position, it's like, what position are you in? Are you the donor? Are you the investor? It's a one-way relationship. And someone mentioned optionality, and power does mean options. So a funder can choose whether or not to fund you or someone else. A bank can choose whether or not to give you a loan, and a celebrity can endorse your product or someone else. It's like whoever has more options typically has more power. And so a lot, or I'd say a piece of the equalizing, is increasing your options. And so much of this could be achieved in equalizing of relationships in language. So I mentioned a little bit of it, but I'll give you a direct example. So Wecksell Partners is called Wecksell Partners for a very specific reason. And I remember when I started the company, and it's still just me, but it was just me then as well. And people would say, why is it called Partners if it's just you? They're like, who are your partners? And I was like, well, my partners are the women I work with. And they're like, well, then who are your clients? And my response was, I don't have any. Because a client coaching consulting relationship sets up a dynamic that I am in this for a service. The main function of our relationship is one with money involved. So it's very important to understand the language that we have. So words with power dynamics are things like investor, client, funder, patient, a doctor and a patient, influencer, boss, direct report. So anything that has to do with traditional hierarchy. And partnership words are words like team, teammates, community, co-creators, collaborators, learners, students. So at the beginning of this, I said, we're all students and we're all teachers here. That was with a very specific point of creating a dynamic where we all are on the same page, and therefore you're more likely to share and know that this is a two-way relationship. And the thing about, especially in fundraising, that I can't stand is that language is incredibly disempowering. And I know that about half of you are raising money right now. And I remember I was reading this book called The Ask. And I remember the language that this woman recommended, the author recommended for the ask, which is basically inviting someone in to make a donation, was, I would like for you to consider making a donation of insert number, then stay quiet. Don't say anything. This is the most apologetic, passive language I would like for you to consider versus I would like to invite you into an opportunity of investing $1 million. What do you think about that? And I like what do you think about it because this is a conversation. Any sort of relationship when money is at the center should be a conversation. There isn't like this lead up of, oh my God, and I've been there where I'm super nervous, I'm in a meeting, and I know that I'm about to invite this person in to make a very serious contribution to an organization or a company. And it needs to be a conversation in the fact that there should be a lot of listening involved. I should know what this other person's needs are. I should know what they care about. I should know their values, and I should know if they match up with mine. I should also pay very close attention to how this person behaves. Because like, we talked about with Yana, we repeat everywhere. And people reveal themselves everywhere. We just have to pay attention. And so it's really this two-way street. And so transactional relationships are, when I say they're about performance and service, so the performance piece is how am I supposed to behave? It's how am I supposed to be performing? Literally performance, like Instagram, that's why the camera's there, versus service. So not in service, but customer service. The idea that the customer is always right. This is with the notion that someone has a lot more cards than somebody else. And a trusting relationship, which I personally like and in the business of and really like, is informative and collaborative. So it's informative because our relationships teach us about ourselves. They're mirrors. They give us growth. And they're collaborative in that, we're a team. We're doing this together. What are we learning together? How are we growing together? What do we each bring to the table? And so this is very much sort of the jiu-jitsu of being mentally prepared for fundraising, and sort of how you start the fundraising process is really in knowing the value that you bring. And it's also knowing the relationship you want to create with your investors, or I say partners. And so this is the idea of me to we to mission. And it's literally a mountain because it's about going up. And so the me relationship is about power dynamic. This is what am I hope I'm behaving okay. I hope I'm doing everything that this person wants. It is very I-oriented. And then the we relationship is about partnership. This is what are we bringing to the table together? And then the mission is what is bigger than all of us that we're trying to achieve. So for example, if I was raising money for a biodegradable tampon, we'll just say, like, I've invented these amazing tampons and they're recyclable and all these things. The me, and I wanted to get funding. So the me version of this would be, I am sending a presentation in a way that someone else would really like. And I hope that I'm sending it in a way that makes sense and that I'm doing everything that this person wants to get funding. The we relationship would be, I know tampons. I'm making this up. I worked at Tampax. I know how these tampons work. I have the knowledge of the market. But you as an investor, I know that you know how to bring things to scale. And together, I know that we can make a great team. And then the mission would be, and this is going to be great for the world and for women everywhere. And we can transform the world together. And it's this bigger idea that really, of similar values that sustains the relationship. And so, when it comes to setting the frame of Wendy, you're talking a little bit in woo-woo. How do we actually do this? Give me some tactics. Okay, here we go. So declare and decide. I'm all about trusting and transparent relationships. Declare. It is important to say, I see all relationships as partnerships. This is exactly what I say with every single woman I work with. I'm declaring that I see this relationship as a partnership. And then when you speak that truth, it is up to you to decide whether or not you want to work with this person, because people reveal themselves when you tell them the truth. You're going to know very clearly whether or not this is someone you want to work with. So for example, if I say my expectation is that I see all relationships as partnerships and we both have to show up and bring something to the table. If the person across from me says, yeah, I'm just interested in cutting a check. This is like too much work. Great. You walk away. You know what you also have? More options, because you know what you want. And then you can or if the person across from you says, that's perfect. That's exactly how I work. Then you can decide whether or not this is someone that you want to move forward with. Be prepared and professional. Okay, anyone who is unprepared or unprofessional loses power. And we'd like to say, I can say, yes, I want all relationships to be partnerships. But the truth of the matter is that the world works in a certain way that people with resources have more options. That's why we talked about this. Money is freedom. And so make sure you confirm the meeting, show up in time, are prepared, because that's when you lose respect. And it's true of the other person. So if an investor shows up late, doesn't know who you are, that's not someone you want to work with. That they just lost. When you lose respect, you lose power. And when you say, and know your product and ideal partners, this is important because it's important to know what you bring to the table and who your audience is. And that will also give you options, because then you know who isn't your audience and who you don't want to work with, which once again, more options, right? So at Wecksell Partners, I focus on working with women leaders who have to manage a lot of relationships to get ahead in their career. That's where I focus best, because what I know is relationship building. If someone were to come to me and say, I'm a coder, I don't talk to people, and what I really need coaching on is a 3-year strategic plan, I would say, great, I'm not your person. Because what I care about is our outcomes. And so the relationship isn't about money, it's about where are the best outcomes. And that's it. So, but it's funny, I literally have a 101 on working with me, and it's just so clear because it's creating trust right away. And so there's a photo there. I don't know why it's not it's whatever. We're gonna have fun here, but I do have a handout. And so if you do want a handout on anything that sort of reinforces a lot of this content, reach out to me. And now it's like the fun stuff, which is the Q&A, now that we've gone through the material. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen, and I welcome questions in the last 10 minutes.
Mira had dropped a question. She said, I'm not exactly sure what it was in reference to one of the slides or one of your points, but how do these apply to a business setting, as in selling a product or service?
Yeah, I can clarify. Firstly, this is great. Thank you so much for doing this. Second of all, you were talking about the we mission. So like, just to clarify, you meant like there's kind of like a progression of like an enlightened partnership, and the mission-based one is the most enlightened, right? Like that's the goal.
So I appreciate that. So I would say sustained.
Sustained, okay.
So the mission's about sustainability. So for example, in a marriage, the thing that's bigger than you is your family and what you want to achieve together. How do you want your life to look? You know, so it's really about the values.
So I have a question. I hope that I'll try and make it super quick.
No, please. I mean,
and I think like, I mean, it sounds like this will be relevant to a lot of women here, which is why I want to ask it. So similar to Yana, I just left my first startup and I'm now consulting. The issue that I got into with my business partner, she's a trust fund kid, comes from lots of money. My earliest memories are of my parents living in poverty and saying like, you can't have this, you can't have that. My mom is from a wealthy family. And so like she relied on support from her parents. And so like the dynamic that I know about money is like, if someone supports you, they'll want you to have money. And the amount of money that they give you is related to how much they actually believe in you. That's like my earliest memory. So money is support and how much someone believes in you. My partner and I had a very like mission-based dynamic, but because the mission was so strong, it excluded us from benefiting financially. So we weren't paid because it wasn't about us, it was about the mission. Like what we're doing, it's all about what we're doing. And for the kids, it was an education company. And then like, if I had to ask for a salary or for like a dividends payment, it was like, why do you need that? It's not about you, it's about the mission. So my question is related to that and how to deal with that power dynamic.
Oh my, I'm so grateful you asked this question. First off, everything that whenever someone asks a question, we are also learning. We learn from each other, and that's why we're doing this as a group. So thank you, Mira. So I am so glad you asked this question because this has come up in my life many times. This is being a martyr. So this comes up a lot in mission-driven work, which is, it actually comes from the idea that money is bad. Like I don't want to pay myself because I'm better than that. And so the goal is that we make a difference in the world, and money allows things to happen. And when we don't get paid for this bigger reason, which is used a lot in nonprofits and in mission-driven companies, and I can talk separately about the privilege of having to be a founder and not having a salary. Like that's just, you have to be privileged in order to even be in that position. Money is a sign of support. And so it's important. It's like, how are you getting curious of where that's coming from in your friend, in your business partner? Because what logically makes sense is for you to be paid so you can do it long term. So the mission is about sustainability once you have all these other things in your relationship. the we is what do we each bring to the table? And ideally, there's also a business plan there. This is, and Yana spoke about this, like money is factual. Money is like learn money, know what it does, and then deal with the emotional stuff. So then it can just be this thing that you know how it works. And so it's like, how are you getting curious on where your friend is, your business partner is coming from and why being paid is bad. And so there's an association that money is bad there in your business partner.
Yeah. I mean, that was pretty clear. Like she had money trauma. Like her experience with money was that when someone wanted money, they were being selfish and trying to take advantage of her because she came from wealth.
Oh, money trauma happens on all levels of the socioeconomic spectrum. They just look different. And so for her, the core there isn't money and being paid, it's trust. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And this comes up a lot, which is people, when people want a lot from you, it's like, can I trust you? And so what she's experiencing is just a trigger that's going through a lot of she's having an emotional response that's not about you and the business. It's about all these other things that has come her way. So then what you have to do as a partner is say, what can I do to make this so that you can trust me? Mm-hmm. Because it's not about the money.
As much as I did, it's like, oh, do you trust me now? And it was just like a continuous, like needing to please dynamic, which was like, is it okay if I stayed late yesterday. Is it okay if I leave on time today? Like, will we okay?
Okay. I don't want to, I just cut you off. I'm so sorry. But I also want to see if other people have questions. Mm-hmm. What I think what's really helpful is for you to write down what you need. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know why we don't do this. I do this all the time. Write out what you need in order to be supported in that business partnership. Mm-hmm. I have found that co-founder relationships are the best preparation for like love relationships because they trigger all the things. But I know Hannah's like, yes. And you have to work through all the things. That's why relationships are so interesting, because they teach us about ourselves in every format. So make your list of what you need and how you need her to show up for you, and have a conversation around that. And she should make her own list. And Mira, reach out to me. You have my email, and I'll send you my 101 on working with me, just so that you have an idea. Oh yeah, I know that Deepa had to go. All good. Any other questions? We have time for one more.
Hannah has a question.
Oh my God, Hannah, yes. Oh my God, I love the red.
Thank you. Just something comfy at home. So I have kind of almost like an opposite situation where people think that I want too much. Like I want too much. Like I personally, I'm doing pretty well, but also I always want more, and I feel like I deserve more, and I negotiate very aggressively. But I'm also very generous. Like I pay for college for my sisters. I would buy a new home for my parents and those things. But at the same time, it's like I always want more, and sometimes I'm like, why am I like that? Like, I know I don't need like a ton, but I feel like if I have a lot of money, then it means I'm very successful. It means I'm doing really well in life. And I don't know. I'm trying to figure out if I'm being like, at what point you're like, okay, you're being too greedy now, and it's too much and it's upsetting other people. Or at what point you're like, no, they don't want to see me successful because I'm a young woman, and I need to fight that, and I need to overcome that, and I need to be as big as I can be.
Okay, so Hannah, you spoke on a couple things. So one is the idea of too muchness, which has anyone else? I know I have dealt with that. The idea of that we're too much. And that's really about other people's expectations. But this comes back to the thing of, what does money give you? And so, and it's dealing with that. Because it's not about being greedy or anything. money is just, you know, money. If we were, once again, if we were on a deserted island, we would be burning it. So it's really what is it giving you that you can't give yourself right now? And that's the question to meditate on. Because then that's when you need it, it becomes addictive. And you get, okay, bye, Jennifer. Thank you so much. And I will just want to answer one question from Kristen. I know, Hannah, I didn't really get to fully answer it, but I'm going to give you some takeaway homework to reflect on.
Okay.
Because then you get into the cycle of, I need this thing, I want this thing, and then you get on a treadmill. And so just think about, what does money give you that you're not giving yourself? And then Kristen's question, how do you start to ask friends and family for money for a startup? Okay, Yana, thank you. You gotta, this comes down to know the value of your product and know who your ideal partners are. And really make it about that. And Kristen, what was the thing that money gives you?
I don't remember what I said. Well, it gives me the opportunity to just be comfortable and to make the decisions that I want. Do I want to give back? Do I want to do whatever? Part of the reason why I decided to start a business was, one, that way I can control part of my future. But then instead of me, as I say, counting someone else's beans, I want to count my own. I'm an accountant, naturally corporate controller. And I was going through the path of either deciding to go work for a nonprofit and be a fundraiser, or starting my own company. So I started my own company. And one of my ideas is to do a choose for charities, natural, organic. They help to settle upset stomachs for like chemotherapy patients. So for every $2 I raise, I want to give 1 to a chemotherapy patient. But I need money to help get to the production run, to help make it so that way the chews come at a cost that I could give them away. Yes. So it's a double-edged sword I'm trying to deal with.
Yeah. Oh my God. And it's like, you know, the chicken and the egg, and money's always a part of it. So at that stage, when it's your friends and family, it's going to be about you. So just know that's going to be the most personal level of fundraising. And it's going to be really important for you to understand and know the story of, why am I doing this and why now? And really know what you want from a partner. How do you want your partners to show up? What expertise do they bring to the table? Or do you just want them to cut a check? Because it's important that you're super clear, because when you deal with friends and family, it gets complicated really quickly. Right. So the more that you know the types of people you want to bring into the fold, what the expectations are, what kind of expertise you need, and your personal story of why you're doing this, why now, and what's the mission of it, that's what's going to be really grounding for you. And